Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. I would like to call the Wednesday, March 3rd DAC meeting to order. We will begin with roll call. Haley Dellery, present. Joseph Cologne. I received a message from Joseph that he'll be about 5 minutes late. So Danny McElmurray,
I'm here.
Eleanor Burke,
Here.
Miguel Viteri. Do we have someone from Capital Projects today? Louis Haywood
Here.
and Lindsay Glatz. Lindsay, I think your microphone is muted, but I can see that you're here. Procedure for public comment. The public comment form link is available at nola.gov/CPC. It will be available until the end of the 5-minute recess, after which public comments will be read into the record as part of the consideration of docket. At this time, would the committee make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from the February 17th meeting?
Make a motion to adopt the minutes.
We have a motion by Parks and Parkways. Do we have a second?
This
Second.
is second.
And we have a second by HDLC. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Okay, and the motion passes. One item on today's agenda has been withdrawn. Item number 4, Design Review Docket 2121 for a property located at 3601 General DeGaulle Drive has been withdrawn. We will begin with the presentation of dockets. Item number 2, the second item in today's agenda is the reconsideration of Design Review Docket 18420 for a property located at 3401 St. Charles Avenue. We have Renee Duplanche signed up to speak on behalf of this application, and Joseph is the CPC staff member assigned to this case. As I mentioned before, Joseph is running a little bit late, so I'll be sharing the screen, and also we will skip the staff presentation, and just Renee, if you can give us a recap on the comments. You now have 10 minutes to present.
Hey guys, this is Ken Gowland and Renee Duplanche with Metro Studio Architects. We appreciate the comments that we received in our initial meeting with DAC. We just want to be clear, this project's currently moving through a BZA process for a partial height waiver at the corner. There will be continued development on this project moving forward. As part of that BZA process, we were asked to come with the initial concept design to DAC. The design is different and has been modified to meet ARC requirements. The previous design you guys reviewed was a taller design, a little bit more building mass. We held on to the positive aspects of the site plan as discussed in the last presentation. So what you guys see before you now, I think we can just skip to page 19 of the site plan.
Okay.
A procedural question. Stephen, this question is for you. This is site plan review only for the DAC, correct?
Stephen, are you available? If not, I can answer that question.
Okay, Haley, that's fine.
That's correct. It's for site plan only, Eleanor, because HDLC has been reviewing the building, correct?
Okay, well, I wanted to just add that at the last ARC meeting of the HDLC, the ARC recommended conceptual approval of the proposed design, provided they provided ground floor courtyards at the Louisiana Avenue elevation. So I just wanted to let the committee know that that's where the ARC stood on the site planning of the property.
Okay, thank you, Eleanor, for that. And so Ken, have those ground floor courtyards been added to this drawing, or that's forthcoming?
Yeah, and just because of the timing on the submission, that hasn't occurred because of how the ARC meeting fell out with regards to your submission deadlines. So the two areas that Eleanor is bringing up, there's these two insets along Louisiana Avenue where ARC has asked for ground level green space to be incorporated at those conditions. And so, you know, again, this plan does not reflect that change, just again, because what you guys have is the same submission that ARC had initially received. What's different from the last DAC, just because again, the timing on the ARC meetings and the DAC submissions, we just want you guys to understand that the Carondelet, Louisiana Avenue portion of the building is now 4-story, which is that back corner portion. The 5-story component, which is limited to the St. Charles and Louisiana Avenue corner, is set back as per the request of the ARC, which we can show you in the renderings. And then there was some in addition to what Eleanor has discussed, there was some request to change some of the architectural vocabulary, namely eliminating the arches that we had in the design. We've included the progression of the renderings to help illustrate to DAC the design changes. Also, if you go to page 29, I think that would be where. So again, that's our existing condition. Oop. Sorry, guys, I don't there. Yeah. So page 29. Yeah, I don't know. If we can go back to what you guys had before, that was the correct package.
Okay, if we can have just a moment, we're going to be transitioning. I was presenting the project and now Joseph, he's taking over the screen share. So give him just 1 second to catch up.
No problem. You guys can just let us know when you're ready for us to begin.
Okay, thank you. I'll pause the 10 minutes. So right now it's 10:10. We can, once Joseph is ready, we can resume. Okay, it looks like Joseph is ready and we're on page 29. So Ken, you now have 10 minutes to present.
Thanks, guys. So I just wanted to bring up some other changes in addition to what Eleanor has pointed out. This is, you know, our Louisiana St. Charles existing condition. If we scroll to the next page, we can see some of this was the earlier sketch done of the project, a little bit taller project, obviously. The next page, this was again an earlier concept. ARC, you know, had taken some issue with the height, how it was being expressed, and the archways. If we can go forward again, Joseph. And so this is the revised design as per our last interaction with ARC. And so as you can see, it's no longer a visible 5-story condition. The 5th floor as per ARC has been set back to reduce any visibility to that upper level. The building now has canopies at all of the ground floor retail conditions. That was another request from the ARC. We've integrated that request into the design that you can see here. And then the arched openings as part of the facade have been removed for the squared off openings as per the ARC. again, we can look at we can advance through just again to show the progression and the design change. And just to be clear, guys, the actual site plan, the parking counts, the bike parking, off-street loading, all of those infrastructural components of the original site plan remained exactly how it is. The changes are mainly with the height and the mass of the building. So again, this was the much taller kind of original sketched out design. We can advance through. Again, where we had 5, this is where we landed currently. So this is at Carondelet and Louisiana Avenue. This is no longer a 5-story building. There is no setback 5th floor. The project has been reduced to eliminate the 5th floor at this corner of the site to help us step back into more the neighborhood scale fabric. And then as you can see in the background, we had our residential building at 3 stories, which is in the neighborhood. We can advance, Joseph, through these slides just to look at that last bit of change. And again, that's existing. This was the previous sketch with the larger building in the background. Again, a 5-story building in the background. And then we have what we currently have worked through with ARC, which is the 4-story building condition. We did include some conceptual drawings. I think Mr. Haywood had some questions regarding how we were proposing potentially developing, redoing the right-of-ways. I think we can look at page 20 for those drawings of just the St. Charles and Louisiana Avenue frontages. And I just want to be clear to both DPW and Parks and Parkways. This is just initial conceptual design. There will be civil and landscaping brought into the project. The owner is retaining a arborist to review the existing tree conditions surrounding the site as requested by Parks and Parkways. They had some concerns that some of the tree material might not be viable. But what our proposed sidewalk plan, again, we're keeping and integrating the bus stop into the proposed design moving forward. We do have a level change at the sidewalk proposed of approximately 1 foot above the existing adjacent grade condition, which we're defining as top of existing curb. And introducing more landscaping into that right-of-way. Currently, the right-of-way between the property line and the curb is 100% concrete. We're proposing that we reduce the amount of concrete hardscape in the right-of-way, introducing these rain garden features and surface level planting, especially around tree conditions where they're sort of constrained right now just with 100% concrete. And we are currently, proposing, we would like to work with DPW at using a permeable paver installation at the right-of-way conditions, again, to increase the permeability of those right-of-ways and offset, not for the building. I mean, just to be clear, guys, I think we have an 1,800 cubic foot volume retention requirement. We are currently at over 2,000 cubic feet of retention. Not this permeable landscaping outside of the property is not contemplated as part of our calculations, so that our stormwater retention is wholly within the site as required by the Article 23, I believe. So this would just be an addition, going back with what we would like to try and do is a permeable site-specific public right-of-way on these 2 primary streets, and work in the slight level change at the corner conditions is what's currently proposed. So we're providing this early level of detail now. We do obviously have more interactions with DAC that will occur in the future once we get through this BZA component.
All righty, very good. Ken, does that conclude your presentation?
Yeah, I think that gets you guys up to speed on where we're at with it. And again, like I said, the site plan remained fairly consistent. We're not looking for any other waivers on parking or loading or trash or any of those components. That's all still as per the original submission.
Okay, thank you. At this time, the committee can have a discussion, and as a reminder, we're going to move to the vote after the 5-minute recess. Do we have any discussion from the committee members?
Well, I do. So going back to the bus stop issue. So the bus stop is still at the corner. Basically, we have to have 8 feet clear, deep from the curb basically at the bus stop. And that's just the basic transit ADA requirements. So 8 feet is a pretty big chunk of the sidewalk. You know, generally that area is going to need to be clear.
Sorry.
RTA.
I believe, at least on my end, you're cutting in and out, Lewis. Is that just for me?
Haley, no, for the past minute, Lewis has been basically frozen. So Lewis, if you can hear us, just know that your comments for the past minute, we don't have record of.
Lewis? I believe he was talking about the RTA.
All right, just give me a second.
Okay.
So if I could just ask real quick, so in line with what the ARC is asking, would the applicant basically be cutting the site plan for the public realm in half, like roughly in line with this annotations?
I'd say roughly. I don't know exactly the dimensions. I think the courtyard size was around 1,600 square feet that they were looking for at those 2 conditions. So I don't know the size of those squares that you've drawn, Joseph, but that's the location. That's correct.
I believe the ARC mentioned 40 feet.
It was, yeah, they were asking for a 40 by 40 area, which I think that area is wider. And that's why I'm saying, just in terms of square footage, I think it was 1,600 square feet. If I'm doing my math correctly, 40 times 40.
Yeah, and just two more things. Is there any outdoor rooftop amenity spaces for residents?
No, not at the upper floor, Joseph. At the 5th floor condition, there was some neighborhood reticence, obviously with noise issues. So that is strictly private conditions at the roof.
And then what's the route that a resident would take to one of these public spaces?
At the ground floor conditions, what we're currently looking at is integrating an upper and a lower component. So if you look right now, the resident private outdoor areas are at the 2nd floor roof deck. And then I think what ARC is looking for is a 1st floor condition. So the private 2nd floor condition is access within the building for the residents.
Yeah, because I don't recall if we saw the community spaces the first time we seen it, but I think, seeing it on multiple levels, especially with how important outdoor spaces is for people nowadays, seeing this is very encouraging.
Yeah, and Joseph, just to be clear too, the majority of the units all have dedicated private outdoor space associated with the unit. So, which is again, a key component of this master plan. Of this site plan. So part of the site plan is generated by having quite a bit of perimeter so that we can provide dedicated outdoor spaces to the units on the building. Obviously, having dedicated outdoor space is a key component moving forward for any sort of collective housing project. There's a lot of express benefits with having that, both for the sort of well-being of the tenants and also too, just providing a variety of spaces for folks within the development. So I think key to this building form is the what we have is a high percentage of a high ratio rather of building perimeter to building core. And that gives us those opportunities around the entirety of the site. And all of those outdoor spaces, for the most part, are focused towards the public right of way, which is consistent with a lot of best practices in terms of increasing public safety, having eyes on the street, and also too following with the typical New Orleans tradition of having some kind of private outdoor porch or exterior space along a main public right of way. I don't know if we, I would like to just, I'm assuming Lewis was talking about some of the space requirements for the bus stop. We just want to be clear that we do have a wider right-of-way condition at the bus stop. The building does step back already at that condition. We're happy, obviously, to work with Mr. Haywood to address any of the space requirements that are specific to the RTA. The owners do, in their plans, currently include the construction of a new bus stop, something that is going to hope, provide some degree of weather protection for folks waiting for the bus and hopefully encourage the use of mass transit for the tenants of the building. And so we would see probably some back and forth, not just with DPW, but also with RTA on that component as we move into a final approval.
Yeah, thanks. I'm back. I'm on the phone now. So basically, we have to have, our bare minimum is 8 feet deep. That's just a federal ADA requirement now for transit.
Mm-hmm.
Is having 8 feet clear at the curb. Really, it's 8 by 5, and then that would obviously have to have access to the some kind of accessible way to the public right of way from there.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically crowding this area with with the trees and landscaping here. So I mean, really constricting that area. Even though that shelter is where it is today, that's not necessarily where the bus stop is. That shelter can be anywhere. The bus stop's where the sign is, basically closer to the corner, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be a certain distance from the parking, obviously, for the bus to get over. So it really is kind of overly constrained here. I don't see this version working anywhere close to what it is. I don't know what the solution is. Maybe it's maybe you're building the sidewalk out a little bit to provide that transit service, and you could have some kind of curb extension potentially, just kind of give yourself a little more space even.
Yeah, and Lewis, I think that would be something we would want to, understand what the options are in terms of what DPW, we've seen DPW do a lot of strategic curb modulations as of recent improvements, especially with regards to the busing and the bike lane installation in some of the existing streets. So I think, we do welcome the fact that, like you're saying, it doesn't necessarily have to go in the exact spot. And so if there is a better location to work on with you guys, just to be clear, it's 8 feet parallel to the curb and 5 feet perpendicular. Am I interpreting your dimensions correctly?
No, it's the opposite.
Okay.
So you need 8 feet from the curb
Okay.
back toward the property line.
Okay. And again, guys, we're sort of at conceptual level with the right of ways. Lewis, there's there's space available. Obviously, if we look at how we alter the planters and the sidewalk width. So I think the real estate is there to accommodate it. But again, I think we would want to just work through some very specific conditions. And if we look at page 20, I think that's the best representation. If we zoom into the bottom corner, I think we can all focus on the areas that Mr. Haywood is talking particular of. So we have our bus stop, and then like he's saying, we have a planter at that condition. We had a ramp condition going back up. So again, this can be developed more in line with the parameters that we're hearing today.
Okay. And then just the kind of the basic concept for the bike racks looks a little suspect. Just the way they're perpendicular to the curb, and I'm a little concerned about blocking just all this landscaping, really making the on-street parking pretty inaccessible. So even having like a small shelf on that behind the curb would really be helpful, but just the way you have when you have the raised sidewalk and the trees, it just makes that pretty difficult. And we've tried to maximize that in previous developments that have this type of situation, so that we're not, completely orphaning things in a high demand area, which I think this will be a high demand area for on-street parking. So we would like to have, some hardscape for people to be able to get out of the cars.
Okay. Yeah. And Louis, just as a sort of an operational moving forward, because, obviously it's two very important right-of-ways, St. Charles and Louisiana Avenue. These are conditions that I know you have spent a lot of time looking at, especially with regards to the bike lane improvements along St. Charles. I'm just asking, is there a way for us to, start interacting with DPW on outside of DAC to start kind of advancing this cause a little bit more forward?
Yeah, you should just communicate with, you can just communicate with me. That's fine.
Okay,
Via
thank
email.
you. Thanks, Mr. Haywood.
And it would be helpful to horn in on Lewis's parade there. You can do the same thing with parkways. I was going to suggest that too. I think you're to the point now where conceptually we're fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's the details, like Lewis was saying, the step out along the curb,
Mm-hmm.
and also the, just some of the tree placements.
Mm-hmm.
We need to look at those
Mm-hmm.
in terms of corners and driveways and things like that. So.
And guys, given the fact that there is, we do want to achieve sort of a the public right of ways improvements to us are really one of the main reasons why the site plan drove in the direction that it did, because we wanted to try and get these reduced vehicle and pedestrian interactions coming in and out the site, and really have a chance at doing a first rate design for the pedestrian experience. Can we possibly look at meeting with both departments concurrently? Our office is happy to share, we can do this in 3D with the model, let you guys opine and start iterating it. But I think together would probably be a great way to kind of kick off that process, so that both departments are able to sort of issue some integrated comments.
Yeah, I think we'd welcome that. It's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
we definitely would. We can do something similar to this, but more focused on just the actual detailing.
Okay. And yeah, and obviously, we've been focusing a lot on these two primary frontages, as they are sort of the, more, as Louis said, sort of like crowded or in demand conditions. But we do have Delachaise and Carondelet as well to review with you guys. It's a little bit different in that it's a little bit more normative neighborhood. It's obviously not a commercial frontage. But given the fact that what's out there now is really so far off the mark from, I think, even where you guys are heading with your just standards, we would want to visit those two right of ways as well with you guys.
Just a quick point on the vehicular parking, the on-street parking is, because there are two exemptions in Article 22. So is the parking count that's on site already inclusive of the on-street spaces being counted towards that, or has that analysis not been done yet?
The parking counts that you have, Joseph, are strictly all within the confines of the private property. The on-street parking capacities are not included in that count. That really has been driven by our process working with the neighborhood. The neighborhood was adamant, both neighborhoods were adamant in terms of the parking capacities, and that I think there was some reticence, especially with DNA, the Delachaise Neighborhood Association, of those on-street spaces being seen as for the development. And so we wanted to keep the perception that the on-street spaces are public spaces and that our parking requirements are being accommodated within the boundaries of the private property. And so that's where those numbers are. What we've done, part of what we've discussed with the neighborhood too is by getting rid of, I think there's 6 curb cuts out there on the perimeter of the site now. By limiting this down to these 2, they're able to pick up some more neighborhood parking in the revised development, or the proposed development, than what's currently available out there.
Okay, no, that's helpful, because I believe in any discussion you have with DPW and parkways, you can, again, be more creative if you're not relying on the on-street parking spaces. I could imagine seeing them, obviously some of them disappear, and as we're seeing in this image, I don't know if this is being enacted downtown, but restaurants, being able to utilize those spaces too, right? And that could create an even better public realm. I don't know where our discussion was in December, so I'll just add, and I know Lewis has been bringing it up, just to be clear about the bike routes in the site and to the long-term parking as well as the short-term parking. And that's just a note in terms of like when you get through HDLC and BZA, I'd need to see that as the planner, to just close it out kind of at that closeout stage. So
Of course.
just a note on that.
Of course. And Joseph, we've appreciated your input. So there's flexibilities, we sort of have a global concept of how everything is working, but obviously if CPC, says, hey, it'd be nice if the short-term bike parking was, 100 feet over here, we still see those flexibilities in the concept. And so I think while we've mapped quite a bit of solutions, I think there's a lot of flexibility. Again, that's sort of why I was bringing up, to Lewis's point, any modulation and curb width. We're not relying on that street parking to meet the CZO requirements. So I think that does give DPW some latitude in terms of improving how we better integrate the variety of traffic patterns around the site. Because we've got, as you guys know, this is really a super unique site in that we have bus, streetcar, standard private vehicle, bike paths, and pedestrians in a truly multimodal condition within the city.
Last question I have is, have you filed for your BZA application yet?
Yeah, it goes in on Monday. And so that's the deadline. We complete the NPP process, I believe, tomorrow.
All righty, so that sounds like the end of the committee discussion. If there are no further comments, we'll move on to the third item on today's agenda, which is Design Review Docket 2021 for a property located at 2121 Charter Street. We have Walter Ainen signed up to speak on behalf of the application, and Joanna is the CPC staff member assigned to the case. As a reminder, following the staff presentation, the applicant will have 10 minutes to present.
You hear me?
I can hear you, but before you go, Walter, Joanna, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I'll just sort of orient us. This is a proposal for the adaptive reuse of the vacant bottling factory and warehouses on Charter Street at Elysian Fields. And they're proposing a 49 suite hotel at this site. This proposal is coming to DAC because it's in an EC enhancement corridor with over 100 feet of frontage. The site is in a local full control historic district, so this review is for the site plan only.
Okay, thanks, Joanna. Walter, you now have 10 minutes to present.
Okay, let me try to get my screen up. Can I do that?
We will have Joseph controlling the graphics, so if you just
Okay,
point him
okay.
to a page number.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so the slide that we're looking at now is just the kind of cluster of lots that comprise the property. It's on the corner of Charters and Elysian. Let's go to some of the aerial shots that give you kind of an idea of the character of the building. So slide like 13, 14, 15, the ones at the end. It's kind of cluster, a historic building at the corner, the old Dr. Nutt Bottle Factory, and then some later buildings, mostly warehouse and storage, that kind of turn the corner. Go to some of the plans, the conceptual plans, ground floor plan, slide 5. Yeah, we'll start with that. That's the ground floor. So we have basically 2 double loaded corridors, apartment style suites, some exterior space in the middle of the site, and along the back there'll be there's a 1-story brick warehouse along the back of the building. We're going to take the roof off of that and have a courtyard space. And then there'll be like a central exterior space that kind of goes down the middle. And second floor is the same. You could just go through them. So that's second, and then this is the penthouse level. We want to do a row of penthouses on the roof. And yeah, so let's just kind of go through it and go to the elevations. This is just a close-up of kind of furniture detail, roof plan. Yeah, elevation. So what we're trying to do is kind of keep the same kind of character of the old bottle factory, but just kind of modernized. So basically a simple kind of stucco exterior wall that will be at the same parapet height of the historic building, and it'll kind of turn the corner and go up, and the little arched bays will have the same kind of proportions and spacing. Those will kind of turn and go up Elysian. And the stucco will match the historic, and then within the bays, we're going to have something more contemporary, like a more contemporary metal and glass storefront. So to do the project, we need the 10,000 conditional, 10,000 square feet conditional use for the hotel. And we're really trying to, this is, I guess, part of the CPC package, because we're trying to figure out whether or not we're going to be able to do this use or not. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Walter. Are there any comments by the committee?
I have a question first. What is it exactly that we're supposed to be reviewing? Because are we reviewing the architecture, or are we reviewing just the site use plan?
I believe it's just the site plan, because this is in an HDLC district, so we would be reviewing the exterior.
So we're just looking at the sidewalk and in the courtyard area. Is that the deal?
Correct.
Well, I mean, my biggest concern is that since this is for a site plan review, all we have, this is the site plan that we have. It shows no public street trees. It shows no other public. It doesn't show the public right of way or any features of the public right of way. And to me, that's an issue. And how is the parking to be addressed? Are there any parking requirements, Joanna, or is this exempt?
I have not dug into that yet.
We're still waiting on to get the grandfathered parking determination from the city to figure out exactly what the parking load is. Regarding the site plan, though, I thought that this review was supposed to be about the elevations.
No, that's why I'm asking the question too, because I thought it was about the elevations too. I have a whole host of comments about the interior layout and the uses areas and the light wells that we have talked about numerous times in the past on other projects that aren't really light wells.
Yeah, this is Steven. Maybe I can clarify some things. Regarding parking, there's a sort of a baseline requirement of 1 space per 2 rooms, minus whatever is grandfathered. And so once safety and permits issues that determination, that the parking requirement will be known. And if a variance is needed, that could be packaged into the forthcoming conditional use application. Because this is in a local historic district, the building design is subject to HDLC review solely. We're only looking at site plan, which of course, in this case is of course mostly limited to the right of way in that courtyard. This is sort of an early conceptual review as part of the conditional use process. There will be an opportunity to bring this back through DAC, and that's probably going to happen in April or May. So it maybe at this point it would be more productive to, to note that with expectation that we can get more details for the second time this comes to DAC, kind of note what you would want in terms of right-of-way treatment.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to see that level of detail of are there bus stops? Are there, where there's street furniture? Where are the street trees? There's a bunch of street trees that are actually missing for this location. They're the tree wells are too small. They're size too small, but there's the right-of-way landscaping is not there. So we obviously need to see that to have something to react to. And then how do people move into the courtyard space from the public sidewalk? And then are they going to be able to access the courtyard kind of to the west that's used for the art market? Is there a way of accessing that property? Is that part of the same property, or is that a separate?
No, it's not. That's a separate property. And the
Okay.
courtyard would not be open to the public. It's just for hotel guests.
But you need to have some kind of fire exit out of there. So where is that?
Right, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's really basic at this point, so we don't have, the exit at that point. But yeah, it would discharge out to the Elysian from that back pool area.
Okay, because I have a whole host of other questions, but they're all architecture related, and that's not what we're reviewing here today. So, we definitely need to see the offsite. We need to see the site plan that includes your right-of-way improvements.
And then the architecture will be reviewed separately by HDLC. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, you would need to put in an application to the one-stop shop, and we would route your proposal through our architectural review committee and then through our commission. Are you getting tax credits for this project?
We're going to try. I mean, we're going to go down that road and see what happens.
Okay, before you submit, a proposed design to the ARC, we usually recommend that you get your part 1 and part 2 sort of nailed down with the State Historic Preservation Office, because their design review is often very different than ours, but they're the ones giving out the money, so they win. So often, something that the New Orleans ARC would recommend, the National Park Service would deny. So it's good to have your design sort of locked down with them before you apply to us.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, is that the end of the committee discussion on this item? And I think we're moving towards reconsideration in the April meeting, but is that the end?
Could I just
Go ahead.
offer that I think it's a very interesting project, and any kind of adaptive reuse of a underutilized site is likely a good thing. I would just say that the amenity space does feel pretty constricted and pretty tight, and I'm wondering if there's a way that it could be opened up further. I think in a resubmission, the applicant should probably submit some perspectives within that site, and that would be really helpful for our committee. And even though they said that they won't do it, I think as part of elevating the design, if there's any kind of public integration or access to the art market, that would be a net benefit to the city, in my opinion, and to the public. And And as well, this is probably outside the scope of our review, but I'm curious, and this is, just for the applicant to ponder about what can happen to those murals that are on the site if there is kind of deemed that they are, significant or worthy of being salvaged, especially in context of the art market in the Frenchman area. I think that could be a really additive to the project and again to the public community as well. That's all.
Okay, noted. So that's mid-April is what we're looking at, or beginning of April? The
Oh.
next date?
We'll discuss that when we return from the recess, the 5-minute recess,
Okay.
and the committee makes the motion. Do you feel like you'd be comfortable based on the conditional use timeline for April? I'll give you some time to look at that, and when we come back, we can discuss it. Alrighty, this concludes the presentation of dockets. The committee will now recess for 5 minutes and return at 10:50. Consideration of dockets, including public comments, will begin at 10:50. Public comments will be accepted until the close of the 5-minute recess. Alrighty, the digital public comment form is now closed. We will begin with the consideration of dockets, including the public comment portion of the meeting. Joseph, have we received any public comments?
We did not.
Alrighty. So we will begin with item number 2, for 3401 St. Charles Avenue.
I'll
The
make
commi-
a
the committee
motion
now can have
to,
further discussion or move to a motion. Go ahead.
yeah, I don't know that anybody has further discussions. I would just like to make a motion that we approve this review for moving forward. I know they have to work with ARC and other agencies, but move to approve subject to ongoing discussion with DPW and Parkways on public right-of-way improvements.
Would that include having stamped and signed plans from those respective departments?
Yes.
Then I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Parks and Parkways and a second by CBC. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion passes. The third item is consideration of, let's see, what was it? Design review docket 2021 for a property located at 2121 Charter Street.
I'll make a motion to defer until the applicant has made necessary changes in terms of what the state, SHPO, or HDLC will require.
Okay, and I would just like to add, Danny, if you don't mind, that Stephen is reviewing the application package for completeness, but it should be scheduled for the April 13th meeting. So, so March 17th would be the next meeting that it should go to if the applicant finds they have enough time to do revision.
Yeah, I don't know that they're going to have enough time for that. That's up to them. But I would just say as soon as possible, not necessarily at the next meeting.
Okay.
Is it something that couldn't be, because I think Danny, I don't know. I feel like our comments are pretty constructive in terms of getting it in front of a CPC meeting. Maybe do you think we should defer it till after it goes through the commission and council process?
I think that HDLC and the state are going to require some changes to the interior layout that may affect how the site plan itself is done. And so I hate for them to go through all this effort to get us a site plan when it may change significantly. Why work on it 3 times when they can only work on it once or twice? So, I'm just hesitant to say bring it back at the next meeting. I think they need to bring it back when their plans are much more fully developed and, they show spaces for back of house stuff for, all the things that a hotel needs in that space, elevators. They still have to meet ADA requirements and they're going to need to meet elevators, exterior, exits and fire to marshal. There's a lot that needs to happen inside that space since it takes up the whole site that's going to affect how it interacts with the public right of way. And I don't think all that's resolved yet and not anywhere close to that. So I really think it's going to be April before we see it again. So I'm motion to defer until the applicant has a solid site plan available for review.
Okay, we have a motion by Parks and Parkways. Do we have a second?
This is Eleanor, I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion passes. This concludes the meeting. Thank you to everyone for your attendance. See you next time.
Thank you.
All right.